If you're not getting booked and getting paid, what are you even doing with your life? We're going live. No. We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Normally it's Frame Friday, but today we have a special guest. I have my business coach backstage. His name is Nicky Billou. He's the author of several books, and his most recent one is called Get Booked, Get Paid. And I had him on the podcast maybe a year or two ago now, and we talked about the importance of how to learn to sell back then. And I think he originally found me because of my initial episode with Dr. Robert Glover. I think he found me through that episode. And I'm going to bring him on to talk about his new book in a minute. But first, we're just going to get right into the housekeeping here. Do like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, don't you know? And for you guys watching live right now, sound off in the live chat, because that not only helps boost us in the algorithm, but it's just fun interacting with you guys. If you guys have questions for Nicky, send it as a super chat, okay? I know you guys have the money. Y'all are sending $500 super chats to these random chicks on the internet, okay? I'm not asking for that. I mean, if you wanted to send $500, I'll let you. But, if you do send the $20 super chat, you know what you guys get. And then consider becoming a channel member. Or if you guys prefer listening on Spotify, become a Spotify subscriber. Both of those help support the show. It's only $3 a month. It's like 10 cents a day. And then you get access to the Tuesday call-in streams. And then you also get a free access to the Book of Pook on Audible or on audio. It's not available on Audible, but my good friend Jack Napier did a audio version of the Book of Pook, which you can get when you become a channel member. Let me play a short commercial for that, and then I'll bring Nicky up. Come on, StreamYard. Click. Every single hour, men struggle in silence. Men who are facing rejection, confusion, and the pain of feeling lost in relationships. Thousands of men have found the support they needed, but for many others, help comes too late. Hi, I'm Paul Bauer. Will you be a supporter for men in need? Every day, men like you face challenges of dating, holding frame, and breaking free from nice guy syndrome. But you don't have to face these struggles alone. For just $2.99 a month, that's only 10 cents a day. You can join my YouTube membership or become a Spotify subscriber, and you can help keep this podcast alive. Your support ensures that I can continue to create content that helps men just like you. I can continue to help men overcome these challenges. By joining now, you're not just getting access to all older archived episodes. You're helping me keep this mission going. Together, we can reach more men who need help, guidance, and support. Right now, there's a man who needs you, and your membership says, I'm here to help. Please join today. Your support is making a difference. It is making a difference. Nicky, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm blessed. I'm grateful, man. Paul, thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Yeah. Well, it's always good talking to you, man. It's always good talking to you. So tell some people about yourself, people that they have never heard of your stuff before. You are the host of the Sovereign Man podcast.
Yep.
But tell people about what you do.
Sure. I'm in the business of helping entrepreneurs, the people who actually make our society and our economy go, become as successful as they can be. And my backstory is really, I think, informative in this. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. At the age of 11, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So he and my mom, they got together, they made a plan. And eventually they got me and my two brothers out of Iran and got us to Canada, Toronto, where I now live. Now, when I was 11, I didn't want to leave my home or my friends, right? No kid does. But looking back now, it was the single greatest thing mom and dad could have done for the two of us. They took us from a legacy of tyranny, Paul, to a legacy of freedom. It's my belief that inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet wants to march to the tune of their own drummer. They want to chart their own course. And entrepreneurs, most especially, right? And to me, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to be a freedom lover, right? Because without freedom, you can't have free expression or free enterprise, and then you can't be an entrepreneur. You're going to be living in one of these third world corrupt dictatorships where everybody's got to be giving bribes to people in government just to get anything done. So my dad was an entrepreneur, and I wanted to be like him because he was a guy who believed in people, right? Every day he'd tell me, son, life isn't about money, it's about people. And I'd go, okay, Dad. And he'd say, business isn't even about money, son, it's about people. Now that confused me, right? Because I was 8 years old. I'm going, Dad, but without money, you can't do any business. He said, that's true, son, but without people, there's no need for money. Because what is business, Paul? Business is solving problems for people for a profit. Acute problems for amazing people for an awesome profit. And that's all business is. And Dad would say, look, man, that man standing in front of you, that's someone's son, that's someone's brother, that's someone's father. That's a hero to somebody. Maybe somebody just like you let him down. It's your job to restore his faith in humanity. And the way you do that is you believe in him. You see his greatness, because everybody has days where they don't believe in themselves. Their faith wobbles. And we all need someone to look at us and go, hey, man, I see you. I see who you really are, and I believe in you. That little spark of belief can turn into a roaring fire of belief. And then that man will be off into the races. So that's me. That's my background. And I got into the business of coaching people, helping people be successful in business. I've written 11 total books, including my latest one, which we'll get into in a minute. I have 2 podcasts. I have a business podcast called The Thought Leader Revolution. And I've got a podcast for men called The Sovereign Man Podcast, which you've been on 2 times. And what those podcasts are all about, honestly, again, in the case of the business podcast, it's about teaching folks who are entrepreneurs how they can create themselves as a thought leader, as a go-to authority. So this presupposes that you actually know what you're doing. So we're not one of these influencer types that, no, don't build a brand if you don't know what you're doing. You got to know what you're doing, but if you know what you're doing, we can show you how to do that. And then most importantly, we got to show you how to sell, because too many good people in the space of entrepreneurship, they want a business, but they're scared of selling. They don't want to be seen as one of those pushy, commission breathy people whose stink of commission breath comes into the room before they do. So they don't go after business. They should be going after Paul. You know what happens, man? Some charlatan comes in and he scoops up that business because he doesn't care. And that's bad for everybody, man. It's bad for the client because they don't get help. It's bad for you because your business doesn't grow. It's even bad for the charlatan marketer because that sucker, karma's going to come bite him in the butt. So my job has been to show people how to take the attention off themselves. If you're thinking about you, you're thinking about the wrong person. You got to be thinking about your potential client. Not, are they going to like me? Are they going to want to buy from me? But what are they dealing with? Am I the right person to help them? How much longer are they able to withstand being in this crappy situation before it goes kaput for them? You think like that, your prospect is going to look at you and go, this is a good dude, because they know you're not thinking about yourself. You're thinking about yourself when you're worried about getting the sale. Are they going to like me? Are they going to want to do business with me? And then the vibe that sends off is yucky for them and for you. But the vibe of, who is this guy? What does he need? How badly is he hurting? And am I the right guy to help him? That vibe feels beautiful to another human being. They'll just go, this guy's a good dude. I can trust him. I can trust him. They won't even know why they feel that way, but they will, just because of how you think and where you put your attention on. So that's a little bit about me, what I do, who I help. Most of the folks I help are some form of a business consultant, a business coach, a relationship coach, a health and fitness coach. They help with the big 3 problems of life, as I say, money and wealth, health and fitness, including mental fitness, and relationships. Those are the big 3 problems of life. So those types of coaches, what I help them with is the money and wealth part. I help them get more sales. I help them get more clients. And frankly, I help them be more confident in themselves.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I booked your upcoming seminar here next month, which is very compelling, and a lot of it is what's in your new book that we're going to be learning in that seminar, and I'm really excited about that because man, prospecting's hard when you're out a social media influencer, getting new clients in marketing and reaching people that need that help has been the hardest struggle. What I found, with social media is that you're a slave to the algorithm. And so if the algorithm doesn't like you, they don't like your content, they don't push you in front of the people that need you. And so you just don't get that many prospects. It's hard. So it all comes down to marketing and sales. And how do I get more, do better in marketing and sales? And which will lead me to my first question. What was the turning point that made you realize that podcast guesting could be more effective than traditional marketing strategies like paid ads?
Well, necessity was the mother of invention, Paul. I actually was in a point in my business where I was running a really successful mastermind that was growing, but I made a big mistake. I let a couple people in there who weren't perfect fits, and they started to mess with the mastermind. But because they paid me in full, I was kind of reluctant to mess with them. I should have fired them and gotten them out of there. Anyways, they stopped listening to my guidance, and they started to like mess with me in front of the other members. And that just destroyed the cohesion of the group. The group went kaput. But more importantly, $250,000 that was going to come in went kaput, and another expected $250,000 in growth, because that group was in a trajectory of growth, went kaput. I needed new business, new income, and I needed it fast. And all the things that we'd been doing up until that point to get business seemed to dry up. So, running paid ads on Facebook and other platforms, they got more expensive, and we weren't getting results from them. And things like, launches, blogging, etc. So I got a coach. He's actually the co-author of my new book. His name's Mark Hamisa. By the way, let me just quickly hold up the book so you can see what it looks like. Get booked and get paid. So here it is. Take a quick screenshot, folks, so you see this for yourselves, because this is something you're going to want to go grab on Amazon. So he and I were talking, and I said to him, "Yo, Mark," his name's Mark. I said, "Mark, I got to replace this income. What are your thoughts here?" And he said, "I have an idea." And I said, "Give it to me, buddy." He said, "Why don't you go on shows as a guest? But don't go on shows as a guest just to, build your brand and all that stuff that I've always done. Go on shows as a guest in order to get leads, sales, and clients with that intention." And, Paul, like he said to me, a weak intention is a lot like a weak erection. Both are pretty darn useless, right? You want to have a up and hard, strong intention, just like an up and hard, strong erection, because that's what's going to allow you to, do good things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so I have this intention. And I started to book myself on shows. In the old days, you'd need to go hire one of these agencies to get you booked on shows, right? Traditional agencies would get you on, Good Morning America and things like that. And now new agencies for podcasting would get you on there. And on my podcast, I don't know about you, but I get pitched like 10, 15 times a day sometimes by these agencies saying, "I got this guest for you."
Yeah.
It can be expensive, right? It can be $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, up to $30,000 a month. And you'd be lucky if you got on anywhere from 1 to 5 shows a month. But now these AI algorithm-driven platforms allow you to get on as many as 720 shows a month, bro, which you never want to do because that's absolutely insane, right?
That's a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Yeah. But for under $50 a month. And then I found another algorithm-based one and another one. So they're proliferating. And I'm like, oh my God, getting booked on shows is easy, which is good. I can teach people how to take advantage of this. So AI, man, love AI. AI is letting you do this. It's so super califragilistic, right, Paul?
Dude, I'm using AI for so much with the podcast business right now. It's ridiculous. Like almost everything I do is all the SEO written descriptions for the video right now. AI wrote it all.
Beautiful. So here's the thing I want to say, man. You ought to do a podcast episode just on that. That would be a service to all your listeners to say, this is how specifically I'm using AI. And your people are going to love you to pieces for that, okay? Because nobody's teaching people about this. And most people are pretty clueless about it. So first, getting booked, and I can show you which platforms to go on. But once you get booked, right, once you're on the platforms, you need a good pitch. You actually can't just go on and say, take me on your show. You have to have a really solid profile. Who you are, what your expertise is, what value you add, why people should have you on the show. That takes time to develop properly. And I learned how to do this through the process of working with Mark. And then I had to learn how to pitch people to get on shows, right? And how to pitch them to get on shows that were potentially good for me to get lead sales and clients on. So I went on 100 shows, Paul, 0 sales. But going on these 100 shows, every week I'd do a debrief call with my buddy Mark to go, this is what worked, this is what didn't. And the debrief call let me see, okay, I got to change my profile. Okay, I got to change my email pitch. Okay, now that I'm on the show, what am I doing right being on the show? Okay, you did this right, you did this wrong. And your intention, that was powerful. The intention's got to be right. The next thing that I learned was you need a compelling story. Facts tell, stories sell. Your personal story, when you go on the show, has got to be compelling. Now, Paul, my personal story, you saw how I told that story.
Yeah.
Now, I tell a variation of that story on virtually every show I go on. Now, why do I do that? Because the people listening to the show don't know me. There's no relationship. They're thinking to their minds, okay, I know Paul, I trust Paul, but who the heck is this Nicky Billou dude, man, with this crazy ass energy of his? Why the heck should I listen to him? Some people are going to like the energy. Some people are going to hate it, right? And the way they're going to know whether they should listen is if I share something about myself that's compelling, that's real and authentic, and that's going to hit them where they live. It's going to make them relate to me. So if people are listening to the show and they're men, and if people are listening to the show and they're in business, that story that I shared is powerful because every man goes, I wish my dad was like that, or my dad was just like that. Oh my God, that makes me feel good. That's the truth. Every man's hearing that, right? And the second thing is every man who's listening to the show, who's an entrepreneur, is going, oh yeah, this guy comes from an entrepreneurial family. Okay, he knows he's not an idiot, right? He's got something valuable to say. And okay, he was inspired by his father and he's helped a ton of entrepreneurs. Okay, I'm going to open myself to what he has to say. You follow what I'm saying, Paul?
Yeah.
So if you just go on a show and someone says, tell me what you do, the worst thing you can do is to just jump into what you do. You got to first talk about you. You got to say, here's my story. If someone tells you, so Paul, tell me about what you do. Tell me about your podcast. What I want you to say to them, Paul, is, that's a great question. Before I answer it, and you will answer it, let me tell you a bit about my backstory, how I got to be here. And then you share your backstory, man. That's powerful. That's powerful. Now, there's a whole lot of other tips and tricks, but for that, you got to go and buy the book and get the rest of those.
Yeah, I dropped the link there in the chat, so guys, check it out.
Thank you. And look, guys, so I know, Paul, you believe in this. You have to invest in yourself, okay? If you're in the business of being a better human being, and I would submit that if you're listening to this podcast, you are, don't just be a guy who goes and listens to all the free stuff. I think that's great. When you invest in yourself, you're telling God, hey, God, I believe in me. I'm going to pour into me. I'm going to pour into me. When you put money, time, energy, then God's going to notice that. And God's going to say, okay, this dude's like, he's on the ball. He wants to get better. I'm going to help him get better. The book on Kindle is $4.99. It's, I think, $17.99 as a paperback and $24.99 as a hardcover. Buy books, read books. Buy Paul's book. He's got a great new book out right now. And actually, Paul, I'm looking forward to reading that book. That book sounds supercalifragilistic. Now that you have it out, let's have you back on my show to talk about it. So
Yeah.
buy Paul's book, 100%. Drop a link for your book in there too, Paul, so people can grab it. But I'm telling you right now, investing in yourself is smart. If you want to succeed in life, there are 4 attributes you must embrace. 1 is decisiveness. You got to say, I'm going to get better. 2 is commitment. You're going to suck at whatever you're trying to get better at first, right? You are going to suck. There is no getting better at it instantly. So be okay with the process. Be willing to suck until you're average. Be willing to be average until you're good. Be willing to be good until you're great. And be willing to be great until you're one of the greatest that ever was. Because that's your job. That's commitment. Commitment isn't, oh, I bought the book and then you put it on your shelf. No, commitment is buying the book, reading it, taking notes, reaching out to the author and asking him questions. That's commitment. And then thirdly, you got to get coaches. You have to get coaches. Like investing in you, like I was saying, is the most important thing you do. Robin Sharma, the author of the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, used to be a client of mine when I was a fitness coach. He told me one day, Nicky, if you want to double your income this year, triple your investment in personal and professional development. So if you spent $1,000 last year, this year it's $3,000. If you spent $3,000 last year, this year it's $9,000. If you spent $10,000 last year, this year it's $30,000. You do that, you'll double your income. And I'm like, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to see if he's right. Paul, I tripled my investment in myself. And at the time, I was married, 2 little kids, sole breadwinner, the whole bit. It was a big deal to triple my investment in myself. Paul, I over doubled my income. I almost tripled my income. So I'm telling you guys, you got to invest in yourself. So buy the books, hire the coaches, join the masterminds, attend the conferences, do the courses, and make sure that you are a constant lifelong learner. It's super, super important. Finally, you've got to be resourceful. If you're telling me right now, I haven't got the money to hire a coach, get resourceful, figure it out. If you can't hire a coach, buy a $4.99 Kindle book. If you can't do that, go on podcasts and listen to them for free until you can make more money and you can invest in yourself. But if you've invested zero in yourself in the last year, ask yourself, how much more money did you make? How much more happiness do you have in your relationship? How much better is your health and fitness? I'm going to guarantee you, with zero investment, the answer is not much better. But with a lot of investment, the answer is at least twice as good. So that's super, super important for you to remember, right? You got to do that. So you get this book. It's going to give you everything you need to go out there and get yourself booked on shows. And as I said, there's tons of AI algorithm-driven platforms, and we're going to help you get on those as well. But you get on, you got to learn how to nail your talk. You can't just come on the talk and say whatever. Your talk has to be like a TED Talk. So I talked about the importance of telling your story. There's 5 or 6 other elements to your talk that are super important. And the final element, I'm going to give that to you as well here right now, is you got to have a strong, clear, solitary call to action. Do not have half a dozen calls to action. Don't say, buy my book. And by the way, sign up for my newsletter. By the way, come do my course. By the way, book a call with me. Pick one and stick with it. If the people like the one call to action they had with you, they'll go, I like this dude. Okay. What else does he offer? More books? Great. A podcast? Great. Oh, he offers like a free breakthrough call or success call? Great. They will find you, but they need 1 point to engage with you. You give people 5 points to engage with you, man, they're not going to engage with any of them because it's too confusing to figure out which one they should engage with. Does that make sense, Paul?
No, it does make a lot of sense. Going back to what you were saying about investing in yourself and getting a coach and stuff like that. You and I talked about that privately because it's one of those things, and I've actually mentioned on the podcast where I've known for like over a year now that I needed to work with someone like you to elevate the podcast to another level. But I've been holding myself back. Ooh, I don't know if I could invest that much money. I don't know. But then I go and I know consciously that I need to do it. I see my friend Benny. He's a breakup coach. He hired a business coach like a year and a half ago. Dude's making $600,000 a year.
Damn.
Because he worked with a coach. They found a formula and he's applying the formula. And so I'm like, I know I need to do it. And he sat down with me and told me I needed to do it. And I've just been dragging my feet. And then when you came on my show, or I went on your show rather, this last time, we were chatting backstage about it. And I was like, I got to work with Nicky. I
love it.
I got to do it. I got to pull the trigger here. So let me pull up this super chat. We got brother Kamal here. He's one of my beer club guys and a YouTube member. He says Nicky has great energy. Where does he get this passion from?
Man, thank you so much. First of all, Kamal, greatly appreciate the comment. So honestly, brother, I'm somebody that has an attitude of gratitude, as it were. I'm grateful to be alive and living in a free country. And I got to tell you, coming from a country where there's not a whole lot of freedom to a country where there is a lot of freedom, it's just a beautiful and wonderful thing. And I think that God has gifted me with certain talents and abilities, and the ability to use those talents on a daily basis, to come on shows, to help people, to share with people is super, super important to me. And it's one of those things that if I don't do this, I don't feel good. You know what I mean, Paul? When I do this, I feel good. So podcast guesting was a natural fit for me because I like it. I like going on shows. I like talking, but it's also a natural fit for me. And I want to talk about this for a minute to Kamal, as well as your other listeners. The idea of going on a show to get leads, sales, and clients, this is a new idea. There's a book written over a decade ago by a couple of university professors at INSEAD University in Europe. The book is called Blue Ocean Strategy. Professors Rene Maberjan and Kim Chan. And this book has a powerful theory in it, Paul. So here's the theory, okay? Most business is conducted in a red ocean. And that means that there's a lot of competition for the same fish, and sharks are biting at it. So the ocean is red with blood, and the sharks are biting at each other. So things like, doing launches and blogging and paid ads and all that other stuff, that's all well and good. It used to work really well, but now it's so competitive. It's a red ocean. It's bloody. But podcast guesting, man, outside of me and a few of my clients, nobody's doing it. Nobody's going on shows with a proven system to get leads, sales, and clients. They just go, they do a talk, and they sit back and wait, hoping someone's going to jump on their calendar, hoping someone's going to buy their book. Now, does that happen? Yes. But as the great American general, George Patton, America's greatest ever fighting general, in my humble opinion, the only general in World War II that the Nazis were truly terrified of, once said, hope is not a strategy. It sounds good. Barack Obama wrote it to the White House, hope and change. But you saw how well that worked out, right? For him, and for the country, not so great. Strategy is a strategy. What Get Booked and Get Paid it is a blue ocean strategy to get you in front of clients, to get you in front of leads, and to help you get sales. And here's the deal. I'm doing a challenge right now between a couple of weeks ago and the end of the year. I'm going on 100 shows as a guest between now and the end of the year, just for the hell of it, right? And at those 100 shows, I'm going to aim for between 50 and 75 breakthrough discovery sales calls. Now, Paul, that's fantastic. If I got 50 discovery sales calls by the end of the year, man, that's huge. And all I need is one out of every 5, every 4, or every 3 to buy. So we're talking between 10 and 16 people to buy. If I do that, I'm going to make, depending on which program of mine they buy, on the low side, I'm going to make 20 grand. On the high side, I'm going to make 130 grand. Just from going on shows. And if someone's listening to this and going, Nicky, come on, is that even a real thing? Well, let me tell you, I went on those 100 shows with 0 sales, but on the 101st is when it all clicked for me. And I've been on over 630 shows since then. I do it 5 hours a week. Now it's going to be a little more because I'm going for this 100 podcast challenge now. It'll probably be more like 8 hours a week. But I've made over $410,000 in sales directly as a result of being a guest on other people's podcasts. I've spent less than $50 a month on this. I've spent less than 10 hours, like around 5, 6, 7 hours a week on this. And I do a lot of other things to make money. So I speak on stages. I contact my warm market. Warm market is also a very good strategy. A lot of people underutilize that strategy as well. And I also have a referral generation strategy. So this is one method that I make money with. Once you learn this, this will be one powerful method you can make money with. But if you're a podcaster like you are, Paul, and if you're somebody who maybe has never been on a podcast, it doesn't matter. Either way, going on a show with a proven strategy is going to get you lead sales and clients. Now, in the book, I tell stories, case studies of people that we've done this with, right? And there was a story. I'm gonna see if I can grab it and read a selection of it for you because it's really powerful. There was a fellow who was on the show, and this dude came and he did my course, and he's a really good dude. Okay, and I'm talking a really, really, really good dude. But he's a tax accountant. Paul, you know a couple tax accountants. You know the stereotype, like Mr. Charisma, not right.
Yeah, not exactly. No,
not exactly. So his name's Michael. I'm just going to read an excerpt from the book. Okay.
Sure.
So Michael's an unusual thought leader. His area of expertise is tax accounting. Like most great accountants, he's an introvert and does not easily gravitate toward the spotlight. Maybe your listener's thinking that's me, but he was looking for ways to grow his business and take his sales to the next level. And he never had a quarter with more than $30,000 in business. But he came and he took our Get Booked and Get Paid workshop. And I got to be honest, he was so quiet. I didn't even know if he was getting anything out of it. Okay. But you know what? He went off and he started to do what we taught him. And I had a chat with him, and he then joined a sales accountability program I did after. And I'll tell you about that in a sec. And I said, how's this going? He said, it's going great. I said, you speak a little louder so I can hear you. He goes, yeah, it's going great. And then I said, all right, tell me what happened. He said, well, I did what you said. I booked myself on a show. And the host of the show really liked what I was talking about because he has a special, unique little kind of taxi niche. And she said to me at the end of the show, I think a lot of my clients could benefit from this. Would you mind if I sent you a few people as referrals? What do you think he said?
Of course.
Send me the referrals. Yeah. And she sent him 10 referrals. 10. He converted 3 of them at $12,000 each. Dude, 1 appearance, 10 referrals, 12,000 each. That's 36 grand. 36 grand. And then he did the sales accountability thing with us because, sales has not been his natural superpower. And we have this program called 90K in 90 days where we help you generate up to, 90K more in 90 days. And by the way, that's not the record. The record is somebody did 1,050,000 in 90 days. So, but 90K has got a nice ring to it, right? It's good marketing hook, 90K in 90 days.
Sure. You got to have a hook. Yeah.
You got to have a hook. So he did the program. And when it ended, right, I went to see him because, we want to talk, see what else we can do to help him. And we said, how did it go? And again, he's really quiet. Didn't say much. He said, I had my best quarter ever. I said, really? How'd you do? He said, I didn't quite do 90K in 90 days, so I'm a little disappointed, but I did $89,600. I'm like, oh my God, buddy, you were $400 short of 90K.
Yeah.
And he said, my best ever quarter before this was 30 grand. Right. And I'm like, okay, dude, really, really, really good. And you think about this. So there's people that are listening to this going, I'm not like you, Paul. I'm not like you, Nicky. I don't have big energy. Is this going to work for me? Dude, if an introverted tax accountant can take this and use it to generate lead sales and clients, you can do it too.
Yeah, that is a really good story. Yeah. So let me ask you this. And you and I have actually talked about the strategy, but for the people that are listening, is the strategy to get in front of more people, to get more leads from the audience that might be listening, or is it to work with these podcast hosts for networking, or is it to target the podcast hosts themselves because you sold me, you know?
You go. So that's a great question. And I'm going to say this to you. The audience can potentially be a source of good leads and sales. Okay. I've been on certain shows where it just clicked with them and 30, 40 people jumped on my calendar out of one single show appearance. Okay. And that is nothing to be sneezed at. But here's the truth. Every podcast host is likely someone very interested in the topic that you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they either have their own offerings in that regard, they're interested in it for themselves, or they're interested in it for their clients. So you going on the show have an opportunity to build a relationship with the host where that host can send you leads like this fella did, right? This lady did, sorry, to Michael. It can be a situation where the host does business with you like you and I did. And it can be a situation where you and the host can decide to say, hey, you know what? Why don't we do a joint venture? Why don't we put a webinar on together? Why don't we put an event on together? Because that host is a seeker. That host is likely a businessman, a businesswoman. And you think about this, Paul. If you're going on shows with people and these folks are able to refer people to you, potentially be interested in buying from you, or do a joint venture with you, and you have 100 of these conversations over the course of the next 3-6 months. Let's say you tell me once you do the course, Nicky, damn it, I'm going to do this 100 podcast challenge. Let's go. Let's roll. Right? Paul, I know you. The first 4 or 5 times you go on, you'll probably go, okay, I'm not doing my natural thing. I'm doing what Nicky told me, and it's going to feel a little awkward. But by 6, 7, 8, you're going to go, yeah, this feels good. And I also know you well enough to know you like people. And by the way, you have to like people, okay? If you're in business, in this type of business, you don't like people, there's a problem, right? Yeah. And I'm kind of figuring that by the end of the podcast guest appearance, just like you and me, there's going to be a relationship. And you're going to learn in the course and in the book that relationship is important, and to nurture it and to continue to be a part of your ongoing business activity. That host can be your client. That host can be a referral source. That host can be a collaborator. Nobody ever talked about this in the past, right, Paul? Everyone says go on shows, and it's the audience. This is the blue ocean that I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, that's really what I found compelling about what it was that you were doing, because most people do go on podcasts to pitch to an audience, right? To the other people's audience. I'm trying to get in front of this other guy's audience. And you're like, yeah, the audience, but it's more about the relationship with the podcast host. And I was like, that blew my mind. I'm like, I've never heard anyone talk about that before. That absolutely blew my mind. You know, we were answering Kamel's super chat. He is a double member, and double members get a special video when they send a super chat. Nicky, you're gonna like this video, Nicky. Watch this.
Love it.
Watch this.
Super chat was here. Shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. Your support is so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
So you like that? That's guys, if you send a $20 super chat, that's what you get if you're not a member. So Nicky, What are some of the best ways to follow up with podcast hosts after an interview, just to keep that relationship warm with them?
Paul, that's a great question. And I'm going to tell you this. If you've been on someone's show and you are a podcast host yourself, one thing you can consider, if it was a good experience, is potentially bringing them on your show, especially if they're fit for the types of things you talk about. That'll obviously keep the relationship going.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, book a call with them. I mean, that sounds kind of weird, right? This day and age, but say, hey, great podcast conversation. Why don't we book a call, have a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And if they've spent some time getting to know you and you did a good job on their show, they're probably going to be very receptive to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not everybody, but the majority, the overwhelming majority. And, consider sending them a gift. Just consider it. Like, you got a new book out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could send them a copy of your book, either a Kindle copy or a signed copy. These are some things that can really, really work well for you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, honestly, so I was thinking back on this because I was like, man, how did I get back into the fold with Nicky here? And I was thinking about it. I was like, Nicky, since I was on his show a year ago and you were on my show, or a year and a half, I can't remember what it was, but I was like, we stayed in contact on Instagram, and Nicky every day on Instagram sends me like 25 of his stories. It's just my inbox is constantly full of Nicky Billou, and I'm constantly and the thing with when you send, I don't know how you do this, by the way. I don't know how you send stories the way you do, because it will not make that conversation go away until I watch your story. It will not. So I have to watch everybody. I have to watch every one of your stories every day to and I'm one of those guys that I like my inbox clear. I don't like having a bunch of unread messages. So I'm like, God, Nicky, damn it. Right. And so I'm looking at all the stuff, and I happen to notice that you just completed a fitness competition and you won. And I was like,
third place.
Oh, okay. Well, you had medals on. I don't know. Yeah. But I was like, man, Nicky's ripped. And he's doing the competition. So I actually messaged you with that one, and I go, man, congratulations on that. That's phenomenal. Yeah, bam, back in the fold where, hey, come back on the podcast. It's been a while,
Yeah.
So that was one way.
And with you and I, right? Like, I like you. Like, you and I were simpatico. We're man's men. You know what I mean? We like to talk about a lot of similar issues. So it's easy to stay in touch with you. But if you got people whose shows you're going on, tag them on Instagram and say, hey man, thanks, blah, 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 blah. Keep messaging people. And people appreciate it. People appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. It does make a lot of sense that way. What advice do you have for someone who's been on several podcasts but hasn't seen any tangible business results from it yet? Because a lot of people, like what I find is people have a lot of quit in them. Like, if they try it one time or two times, they're like, this doesn't work. And then they give up, or their self-limiting beliefs tell them, oh, this will never work for you. And so they quit. So how do you keep those types of people going?
So that's a great question. Here's what I'm going to say to you, right? You just don't know how to do it right. And if you don't know how to do something right, you got to get help. That's why I wrote the darn book, right? You can read this book in a day and a half. If you go to the bathroom 5 times, take it with you, and you'll read 5 to 10 pages each time. It's done. And the ideas are easy to digest and easy to apply. And secondly, come and do the course where you learn exactly how to get on a show with the intention of generating lead sales and clients. You're just not doing it right. Most people just go, oh, okay, I'm going on podcast. It's going to be great. And it's not. Because if you just go on a show and you have a conversation with the person and that's all you do and you say goodbye to them, you'll go, that was great. But your door is not going to be knocked on very much. But if you go on a show and you do the things that we teach you to do, and you make sure that you build a bit of a relationship with that host, That's what creates opportunities for you to do things, just like with you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that simple. And look, I'm going to advise you, if you want to try this on your own, knock yourself out. Go for it. Try to figure it on your own. It took me 100 show appearances to figure this out on my own. Don't be like me. Don't go on 100 shows to figure this out, or quit after 4 or 5 or 7 or 8 or 9. Go learn from an expert. In the book, we've got a podcast guest scorecard. And, I've got a link for this, which I'm going to have to send you later, Paul, because I don't have it handy right now. But basically, there's 7 questions here that help you see, how good a guest are you in terms of using guesting to get you lead, sales, and clients. So it's like 7 pairs of phrases. The first one goes, I'm not able to get on any high quality podcasts versus I'm able to get on 10 plus high quality podcasts a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not booking any sales strategy calls. I'm booking 5 to 10 sales strategy calls a month. I'm not getting any clients for my strategy calls. I'm getting 2 to 10 clients a month for my strategy calls, and so on and so forth. You answer all these questions. There's like a key that'll show you, based on the score that you get, how good a podcast guester you are in terms of using it to get lead, sales, and clients. And I'm telling you something. You want to know this. This is valuable and important information for you. Take this scorecard test and use it in order to get yourself clear on, do I know enough to do this well? And if you don't, then gosh darn it, go and learn. Invest in yourself with the book and the course, and use this blue ocean strategy. Don't keep using the red ocean strategies everybody else is doing. You're going to bang your head against the wall and you get bloody, and you're going to spend a lot of money, and it's not going to work out so good for you. You can do this for the small investment of a few bucks in a book, or a couple of grand to do a workshop for a weekend, and then just put your shoulders into it and get to work.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I just bought the book, by the way, but I'm looking forward to going through that and then reinforcing that with the seminars here next month. It's 2 full days.
2 days.
Which I'm excited about that. What's funny about that is the timing of it. It just happens to be where that Saturday is where they have an annual 5K race that I like to run in every year.
Jesus.
And I'm like, I'm gonna have to skip it this year. I just booked a course. So I'm gonna have to find another 5K to run in after that. There's also a turkey trot one I could get in, but I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, this is more important. Making more money. Making money is
more
more important.
Man. Go do it. Yeah.
So let's see. How do you measure the effectiveness of a podcast appearance in terms of leads generated, sales closed, or new clients acquired?
Honestly, it's a measurement game, right? You probably heard this. What gets measured gets improved upon. And what you want to do is, in this 100-day podcast challenge, you want to keep track of the number of shows you're going on. Okay, so that's easy to do. Every week, you know how many shows you go on. And then you want to keep track of how many sales discovery calls you booked as a result. So I just told you, I'm going to go on 100 shows, 50 sales discovery calls for 10 to 16 clients. That's my goal, right? And if you have like a spreadsheet, or if you use like one of these CRMs to track all this, it should be really straightforward for you to do. And use some AI tools to help you build this. Because I'll tell you, first of all, you'll have fun using AI to build a really cool tracking mechanism.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, dude, I love. AI is so much fun.
It really is.
That song for that booty shaking video, AI wrote that song.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. So you use that to make sure you're on track. Let's just say you said, Nicky, I'm not going to do 100 shows, but I'm only going to do 30 shows or 50 shows. And if I do 30 shows, I'm going to go for 15 discovery calls, and I'm going to go for like 3 to 5 sales. Okay, great. Just make sure you track it. Every week, you gotta just keep putting in the numbers of the shows you did, the discovery calls you booked, and the sales you got. And let's say you've done like 20 shows and you got no discovery calls. Well, that's a clue that you got to look at your appearances. You got to go watch a couple of the shows that you did and go, Did I do everything Nicky taught me? No, I didn't. Oh, I screwed this up. I screwed that up. Okay, fix it. Fix it so you get the discovery calls. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you're getting the discovery calls, but you're not getting the sales. Okay. Record a couple of your sales calls and have a listen. Am I doing the right amount of discovery? Do I actually ask enough questions, or am I jumping right to the sale? Maybe you need help selling. Maybe you suck at selling. Suck being a technical business term, Paul.
Yeah.
Right. And if that's the case, then get help with that. We got a sales accountability course that we do for people where we teach them how to do sales calls. We teach them how to do the call and have a structure for the call from beginning to end. We teach them how to do objection handling. All of these are skills you're going to need if you're going to be successful. But step one is measure.
Yeah. That actually, I mean, that's a big thing in this space, in the red pill space, is the concept of field reports. We call them field reports. You join any kind of group. You could be in my beer club. You could be on Reddit, right? In the forums on Reddit, and post your field reports. If you're struggling with dating, you go out and you do some practice dates. You talk about what worked, what didn't, what you could have done better, and you actually have to take some time to self-reflect on what's working, what's not, keep what's working, get rid of the stuff that's not working, get some advice from some of the other guys, like, hey, this worked better for me. You might want to try this next time, that kind of thing. Guys that do that in this space kill it with dating and relationships. Every guy. So my podcast came out of a Facebook group, a free Facebook group. It was called the 3% Man Group. Yep. And every guy that I started out with in that group that would post their date updates, they'd go and spin plates and talk to women. And then they would take the time right after the date and post a little something about what worked, what didn't. They post little video updates. Every one of those guys ended up in relationships, and they were just killing it with women. Those guys, though, tended to, once they got the girl, they just fell back on old programming, though, and they stopped practicing the stuff. And then 2 years later, they were all back in the group. But if they would have just stayed in the group the whole time and talked about what was working in the relationship and what wasn't, they would still be in those relationships right now.
They would.
But that self-reflection's very important. I think just in any aspect of life, not just with getting better with business, but getting better with anything that you're trying to do.
100%, man. 100%. And I'll say this to those guys who fell back on old programming after they got the result. Mm-hmm. This is the thing that men in particular do, man. We get lazy. And the way to not get lazy is deny yourself choice. There is a man who's been in the men's workspace since 1979. His name is Justin Sterling, and he does a program called the Sterling Men's Weekend. First of all, Paul, if you've never heard of it, check it out, sterling-institute.com. And he's been doing these since 79. Right now he's old. He only does a couple a year, but he used to do like 18, 20 of these a year. 200-300 men at a time would go to them. Mm-hmm. And he said, freedom to a man is having no choice. And when you first hear that, it's a mind fuck, right? You go, what are you talking about? Of course I want choice. Choice is freedom. No. Choice is slavery. Because when you have too many choices in front of you, you actually get paralyzed by the need to make the choice again and again. But if you say, I'm going to get fit like I did a year and a half ago, I'm hiring a coach and I'm outsourcing all my workout, sleep, and nutrition decisions to him. I have no choice. Whatever he says, I'm going to do. So he gives me a plan. I follow it. And believe me, at first, I wanted to argue with him about everything because like I told you, I used to be a top trainer. I work with Olympic champions. But I'm like, nope, zip your damn mouth and do what he says. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you know it, Paul? That's how come I lost 60 pounds and I got abs at the age of 57. A client of mine told me it's 8.5 times harder for a man to get abs after the age of 50 than it is for him to make $1 million in a year. I'm like, what? Is that real? He goes, yeah, the numbers bear it out. Really? He said, yeah, more men over the age of 50 make $1 million a year than have abs. 8.5 times more men. I'm like, huh. And I thought about this and I'm like, okay, the reason I'm continuing to get healthier, fitter, is because after I dropped the initial weight, I didn't go, thanks, I'm good, and fire this guy. Kept working with him. You follow me?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense about when you hire a coach and you want to argue with them, and because that's what I find too is a lot of guys, you'll tell them exactly what they need to do to fix it, and then they come up with all these excuses and reasons why they can't or why they didn't. And it's like, if you stop making excuses and stop thinking about how you can't and just do what you're prescribed, you're going to get better results. A lot of guys read a lot of books and then they do hire a coach and then they think they know better than the coach. It's like, well, okay, look, you're wasting your money if you're not listening to the coach. And then two, you're never going to learn anything new if you don't empty that cup. Your cup's already full. You can't fill it anymore, right? You think you know everything. So how about empty that cup and be coachable? you're going to go
straight up,
further.
Straight up, man. Straight up. Listen, I'm in a relationship with a woman, right? But if I wasn't, and I wanted to, get back into the dating market, let's say I hired you for it, right? And you said, Nicky, I want you to do this. I'm not going to sit there and argue with you. I'm just going to, okay, Paul, you tell me X, I'm going to do X.
Yeah.
Because I'm paying you. And that gives you a duty to give me your best advice and care about what happens to me. And that gives me a duty to take your advice and care about following it through fully. And these men that were in that group who stopped taking the advice, man, that was the biggest mistake they ever made. The biggest mistake they ever made. They should have stayed in the group. They should have kept hiring coaches until they actually had a level of skill. Right now, I'm fit. Okay. I got abs. All that's great. I don't feel like I got this covered. I really don't. In fact, I'm telling you, I don't have it covered. What I do have covered is I'm good at following a recipe. And if you're a man, freedom to man is having no choice. So if you want to be successful at anything, take advice from someone you trust, who knows what they're doing, and listen to what they have to tell you. So if you buy this book, right, do everything the book says. If you decide to do the workshop, do what we teach you to do in the workshop. Don't go, you know what, I did the workshop, but I don't agree with you. Screw this. I'm not going to do anything. That was a waste of your time and ours. I hate it when people spend money with me and don't take my coaching. It is so frustrating for me. So frustrating for me. And in many occasions, I tell them, like, if you keep this up, we're not going to keep working together. You know what I mean? I give them that ultimatum. I only want to work with people who trust me enough to follow what I have to say. And one of the ways I make sure I attract people like that is being that kind of person when I'm being coached.
Right. Yeah. You gotta put your money where your mouth is. You gotta do what you tell people to do. Yeah. I think the number one biggest thing that guys could do if they were out dating right now and they hadn't, let's say they've been married for 15 years and they got divorced and they haven't had any practice dating and they're just striking out left and right. One of the biggest things I tell them to do, and nobody does this, is go on practice dates with fat, ugly women. Just they're easy to come by. You can swipe, you can swing a dead cat and get a date with a fat, ugly chick right now on a dating app. You don't have to sleep with her. You don't have to have multiple dates with her and spend tons of money with her. Okay, just take her out for drinks, practice talking, practice body language, practice. Letting her do 80% of the talking, learning how to listen, and then practice, wide open body language, all that kind of stuff. It could be over after one drink. And now you're going to build up some muscle memory for when you actually do try to close a date with a hot chick. Right. And then when you go on that date, you just run the same program. But most guys won't do that. Most guys are like, no, I got standards, bro. It's like, yeah, your standards are keeping you where you're at. So you need to go out and get some practice dates in, build up some of that muscle memory so that when you actually do go on a date with a chick that is hot, you're going to knock it out of the park. But that's when I met my current girlfriend. I call her Nurse Chick.
Yeah.
I had what I found was that I got really good at setting, dates and going out on dates with like hot women, whatever, but you found on dating apps, there's lots of catfish. And, so I found that catfish make natural practice dates. You show up to a date and this chick's not the way you expected her. Okay. We're in practice mode now. Just go and do the practice date. And so when I met Nurse Chick, I was expecting her to show up to this date. And I was like, I bet you she's a catfish. This is probably going to be a practice date. And I just had that mindset. When she walked in the room wearing jeans, like pow, I was like, oh, this is game time. This is game time. But I had enough practice where I didn't even worry about it. I was like, oh, okay, it's game on now. Let's do this. I've done this 1,000 times already, So, but a lot of guys won't do that. They can't lower themselves to that level to get that practice in. It's like, yeah, you're like you said before, I'm probably going to go on a bunch of podcasts and I'm going to suck ass at first, but I'm willing to suck at first to build up that muscle memory. Like I'm going to do what Nicky tells me to do. I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'm going to do what Nicky tells me to do. One of the things that you also said here at the beginning, we'll wrap this up here in a minute. But you told your story at the beginning about how you're an immigrant, all that kind of stuff to build that, that backstory, give people something to invest in. I've been on tons of different podcasts. People reach out to me all the time to come on their podcast. I've never once done that. And that really resonated with me today. I was like, Jesus, I never tell my backstory. I tell people, oh yeah, I do this podcast and I coach guys and I have 2 books or whatever. Like no one gives a shit. Like
they really don't.
Yeah.
They want to know who you are as a human being, as a man.
Yeah.
They're worried about themselves. They're going, oh, okay, this guy's telling me how great he is. That's fine. But if you tell them your backstory and the hell you went through, they're going to see themselves in your backstory.
Yeah.
Every man that listens to my backstory, every single one is going, my dad was like that. And they're going to either feel good or they're going to go, my dad wasn't like that. And man, I wish he was. And they're going to go, I want to be like this guy's dad. Yeah. I want to be like in their core of their soul, they're going, I want to be a man like this guy's dad. He seems like he's a good dude. I'm going to listen. That's what happens for them.
Yeah.
You tell your story of the hell you went through when you were dating and your breakups and all that jazz. The dudes are going to go, shit, that's me. Shit, that's me. Mm-hmm. I like this guy. Okay, now he's got Nurse Chick and man, she sounds like she's pretty cool and hot and all that. I'm going to listen to him. I like him. I'm open to him and what he has to sell in the world. And that doesn't mean your offer. That means your message. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
man, we got all these notifications kicking off here.
There you go, man.
Nicky, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. What are your final thoughts? Where can people get the book, and where can people find you online?
I'm the only Nicky Billou in the world, at Nicky Billou on pretty much every social media platform. Should find me. So go do that if you just want to find me on social media. But the book, Get Booked and Get Paid, is available on Amazon. It's available as a Kindle. It's available as a paperback, and it's available as a hardcover. I just want to strongly urge you, go pick up a copy of this book on Amazon today, right away. This will change the trajectory of your business life. It'll change the trajectory of your business life right away. So just go on Amazon right now, Amazon.com or any other Amazon platform that you're on. Type in Get Booked and Get Paid, or type in my name, Nicky Billou. I'm the only Nicky Billou on the planet, so I'm the only one that's going to show up. Nicky Billou, NickeyBillou. Go grab the book. And by the way, the book makes a great gift, for Christmas, for birthdays. And I tell you what, if you pick up 10 copies of the book, right, and you give them out as gifts, I'm going to give you a 1-hour free coaching call with me. 1-hour free coaching call with me. So just show me a screenshot that you did this. Reach out to me on social media. Let me know you did this, and I will give you a free 1-hour coaching call with me. So you can take some of the ideas in the book and use them for yourself or whatever else you wanted to do. So go ahead and buy this book, pick up 10 copies and give it away as a gift, and go get that 1-hour free coaching call with me. God bless you.
All right. Thanks, Nicky. I appreciate it. I dropped a link to Nicky's book there in the chat. Guys, I have a book too. don't you know? Let me play a commercial for that real quick, and then we'll wrap up. I'll tell you guys where you guys can find the next episode and what's coming up on the podcast. But my new book dropped last Saturday, so check this out.
Have you ever felt like something's holding you back in your relationships? Like you're always on the back foot, struggling to connect with women? You're not alone. Many men are taught to be weak, to defer, to play small around women by their upbringing, by society, by the very world that shaped them. But what if you could break free from the invisible chains that have held you back? What if you could rewrite the script? Reprogram the paradigm that's been running your life. This is your chance to step into the man you were always meant to be. In The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm by Paul Bauer, the first book in R.P. Thor's groundbreaking series, you'll learn how to understand and transform the paradigms that have shaped your life. You'll discover how to develop a dominant masculine presence, one that commands respect, inspires trust, and brings fulfillment to your relationships. Don't wait for life to change on its own. Take control. Order your copy of The Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, Psychology Paradigm now on Amazon. Available in hardcover, paperback, or on Kindle. This is more than a book. It's your roadmap to a life of purpose, strength, and success. Make the decision today. Reprogram your life and step into the man you were meant to be. All right, guys, tune in to Rule Zero tomorrow. Red Hawk's making his hosting debut. He plans on talking about why her politics don't matter. Tune into Dragon Ship after. I believe Tarl from Viking Paradigm, he's hosting. I'm not sure what the topic is. And then finally, tune into the podcast Monday for Mating Monday. We are going to be continuing the Book of Puck series. Other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow on Rule Zero.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.